Norway, where nature is not only beautiful, but powerful enough to humble the human spirit. A land of deep fjords, cold seas, towering mountains, winter storms, and structures that seem almost impossible to exist. In the violent waters of the North Sea, steel cities rise above the waves. Inside the mountains, hidden rivers are transformed into power for an entire nation. From offshore platforms and colossal bridges to the frozen depths of the Svalbard Global Seed Vault, today, we journey into the greatest wonders of Norway, where wild nature, extraordinary engineering, and the human spirit come together to create something almost unbelievable.
Sima hydropower plant hides inside the mountain at Eidfjord, beside the Hardanger Fjord, where waterfalls, glacier water, and steep rock walls make electricity feel carved directly from the landscape. From the outside, this part of Vestland looks like a paradise of deep blue fjord water, green slopes, and cliffs dropping sharply toward the shore. Behind that calm surface, Sima holds 1,120 megawatts of installed capacity, making it the second largest power plant in the country by capacity. Its tunnels and shafts run for about 38 miles through rock, linking reservoirs, waterfalls, and underground machinery in a system most visitors never see. What makes Simsjø remarkable is the way this paradise-like surface and hidden power system exist together, because you can stand near Eidfjord and hear water falling through the valley, while turbines inside the mountain turn that same water into electricity for daily life. The plant also connects to some of the region's most extraordinary scenery, including watercourses tied to Vøringsfossen and the Hardangerjökullen glacier area. Sima becomes more than an underground power plant because it brings tourism, nature, engineering, and public value into one clean, beautiful, mountain-built system. On the Møre og Romsdal coast, Eiksund Fixed Link gives island life a mainland route by sending drivers from open coastal roads down to nearly 942 feet beneath the fjord. The Eiksund Tunnel runs about 4.8 miles under the water and once held the world record as the deepest road tunnel, but the real force of this project is the way that depth changes ordinary life above it. Roads move from gray coastal villages to the Eiksund Bridge, then drop steeply into the undersea tunnel before climbing back toward Ørsta and Volda, turning what once depended on ferry timing into a direct daily connection. Unlike larger city region tunnels, Eiksund carries the human scale of fishing towns, shipbuilding workers, students, hospital visits, airport trips, and families moving between islands and mainland. Above the route, low clouds slide over green islands, working harbors, sharp mountain backs, and Atlantic weather that can change the mood of the fjord in minutes. Beneath it, cars travel through rock and pressure that most people will never see. Eiksund, fixed link, feels unforgettable through that vertical journey from island daylight to deep subsea road and back to the mainland, giving coastal communities a reliable path while leaving the wild beauty of Sunnmøre fully intact. Out on the edge of the Norwegian Sea, the Atlantic Ocean Road turns a 5.1-mile coastal drive into one of Europe's most unforgettable roads, linking Averøy with the mainland through 8 bridges, low islands, skerries, causeways, and open ocean on both sides. On calm summer days, the water lies blue beside fishing cabins, green slopes, and bare rock. When storms roll in from the northwest, sea spray can rise over the asphalt and make the same route feel raw, dangerous, and alive. Opened in 1989, and later named one of Norway's national tourist routes, this road gives coastal villages a reliable connection, while turning everyday travel into a direct encounter with Atlantic weather. Cars climb, curve, and drop across bridges as waves move beside them, giving the route a kind of power that comes from exposure, not height. Atlantic Ocean Road stays remarkable by letting people enter the coast at full force, where engineering, fishing culture, salt air, storm light, and ocean beauty meet in one short but unforgettable stretch of road. Hardanger Bridge arrives like a sudden reveal after so many tunnels, placing its power openly across Hardanger Fjord, instead of hiding it inside rock or beneath the sea. The bridge crosses between Ulvik and Ullensvang on Ri. 13, replacing the Bruvik Brimnes ferry with a 2-lane suspension bridge that also carries pedestrians and cyclists. Its main span reaches about 4,300 feet, longer than the Golden Gate Bridge's main span, while the towers rise roughly 650 feet above the fjord. That comparison gives the bridge immediate scale, but the setting gives it soul. Cables cut across open sky, cars move between tunnel portals, and deep blue water sits far below, framed by orchards, steep mountains, waterfalls, villages, and clouds that change the entire scene, from bright to mysterious, within minutes. For local communities and travelers, Hardanger Bridge removes ferry waiting time and makes the route dependable, while the fjord remains the center of attention rather than a background detail. The bridge feels unique through that balance, lifting people directly into one of Europe's most breathtaking fjord landscapes and showing how engineering can make a place easier to live in, while making visitors want to stop, look, and remember exactly where they are. Between deep fjords and steep mountains on Norway's west coast, Nyhamna turns gas from the Ormen Lange field into energy that can travel across the North Sea. Ormen Lange is Norway's second-largest gas field, located far offshore in deep water, yet no platform stands above it. That absence is what makes the project so striking. The field works from the seabed, while gas moves through pipelines to Nyhamna in Åkra, then continues through the Langeled system toward the United Kingdom and Europe. Shell says that at peak, Ormen Lange supplied the equivalent of up to 30% of Britain's gas needs, giving this quiet coastal plant a role far beyond the shoreline. The scenery around Nyhamna makes the contrast powerful. Green slopes, gray rock, Atlantic air, fishing heritage, and small communities sit beside processing trains, pipes, control rooms, and export systems. The people here are not just operating equipment, but turning a hidden offshore field into dependable energy for millions of homes and businesses. Ormen Lange and Nyhamna show one of Norway's strongest national qualities, the ability to connect remote nature with global value, while keeping the landscape around it raw, coastal, and beautiful. Far north in Svalbard, the Global Seed Vault is carved more than 300 feet into a mountain near Longyearbyen, protecting the world's food future in one of the most remote places reachable by scheduled flight. Opened in 2008, the vault stores safety duplicates of crop seeds from gene banks around the world, with capacity for 4.5 million seed samples and more than 1.3 million already safeguarded. Its required storage temperature is -0.4 degrees Fahrenheit, while permafrost and thick rock add natural protection if power ever fails. A small illuminated entrance, standing in snow and Arctic darkness, gives the vault its immediate force, while the real storage rooms remain hidden deep inside the mountain. Built for global food security rather than comfort, it protects rice, wheat, barley, beans, sorghum, maize, and thousands of other crops future generations may need. Around it, Svalbard feels almost otherworldly, with polar night, blue ice, bare mountains, cold wind, and Longyearbyen's small community living at the edge of the map. The Seed Vault becomes extraordinary, where science, trust, food security, and Arctic landscape meet, reminding people that one remote mountain can hold part of humanity's ability to survive a changing world. Kårstø Gas Processing Complex sits in Ulla-Førre on the Rogaland coast, north of Stavanger, where gas arriving from the North Sea becomes heat, industry, transport, and trade. Equinor describes Kårstø as the largest processing plant of its kind in Europe, and around 30 offshore fields are connected to it through pipelines. That scale is visible in the coastal rhythm of the place, where pipe racks, storage tanks, loading jetties, control rooms, and ships operate beside green hills, rain-dark roads, and low northern light. The plant's industrial power feels stronger because the surrounding coast still keeps its human scale, with small communities, farmland, inlets, and working harbors close by, where salt air mixes with steel, fuel, rain, and grass. For local workers, Kårstø means shifts, safety routines, vessel arrivals, maintenance work, and prosperity close to the sea. It remains powerful because it turns offshore energy into public value without losing the working coastline around it. A few steps from the Opera House, Bjørvika and Barcode take a former traffic corridor and container harbor and turn it into one of Oslo's most ambitious waterfront districts for living, working, culture, and public life. Bjørvika covers roughly 172 acres. More than 100 soccer fields, making it the largest area in the city's Fjords city plan, and one of the capital's most visible urban transformations. Barcode gives the district its sharp skyline, with 12 narrow high-rise buildings standing along droning Euphemius Gate like a row of glass and steel markers. Streets that were once dominated by port activity now carry offices, homes, restaurants, shops, student housing, childcare, public spaces, the Opera House, Dijkman Library, and the Munch Museum within walking distance of the fjord. The contrast becomes clear at street level as people move beneath tall towers, then step toward open water, wooden promenades, bathing areas, and harbor spaces once cut off by industrial edges. With thousands of homes and tens of thousands of jobs planned, Bjørvika's deeper value is the cleaner, more public waterfront it gives the city, where architecture, business, culture, and fjord life share the same streets. Ekofisk rises from the southern North Sea, about 186 miles southwest of Stavanger, as the oil field that changed Norway's modern history. Discovered in 1969, it became the country's first commercial oil field and opened the door to an offshore industry that helped shape modern Norway. What was once open water became a working offshore city of platforms, bridges, supply ships, pipelines, and helicopters, with crews living far from land, under salt wind, low clouds, and weather that can shift in minutes. The real scale of Ekofisk is felt not only at sea, but back on shore, where Stavanger grew into an offshore capital, and coastal communities found new work, new skills, and a stronger place in the national economy. This field helped fund roads, schools, public services, and long-term prosperity, yet it still belongs to a landscape that refuses to feel controlled. The North Sea around Ekofisk remains cold, vast, and beautiful, with gray water stretching beyond the horizon, and workers crossing it every day by air and vessel. Ekofisk matters because it shows the beginning of Norway's modern offshore identity, where danger, discipline, engineering, and human courage turned a harsh sea into one of the country's most important sources of opportunity. Johan Sverdrup rises from the North Sea, west of Stavanger, as the modern face of Norway's offshore industry. After Phase 2 came online, the field reached up to 755,000 barrels per day, a scale large enough to represent about 6 to 7% of Europe's daily oil demand. What makes Johan Sverdrup different is not only how much it produces, but how it operates. Powered from shore, the field has some of the lowest emissions per barrel in the world, showing how Norway is using technology, hydropower, digital systems, and strict safety culture to reshape offshore work. The setting feels sharp and controlled, with connected platforms standing in cold water, helicopters moving through low clouds, supply vessels below, and Stavanger's expert offshore ecosystem supporting the work from land. This field gives Norway revenue, jobs, export strength, and technical knowledge, but it also gives the region a sense of continued purpose in a changing energy world. Around Stavanger, ports, training centers, shipyards, and families are tied to a project that must balance wealth with responsibility. Johan Sverdrup feels like a new chapter on the North Sea, where national prosperity, environmental pressure, skilled workers, and advanced engineering meet in one clean, severe, unforgettable landscape. Far off Norway's western coast, Troll A stands above the North Sea, like a concrete mountain placed in the water. The Troll gas field lies west of Bergen and holds roughly 40% of the gas reserves on the Norwegian continental shelf, making it one of Europe's most important energy assets. West of Bergen, Grey Sea, low islands, fishing heritage, and coastal communities sit beside the invisible network of pipelines leading toward Kårstø. The people who operate this system, offshore crews, onshore plant workers, marine pilots, and pipeline controllers, keep national energy flowing through storms and long winters. Troll A is more than a record-breaking platform. It is Norway's ability to turn hidden scale into public value, while the coast around Bergen keeps its quiet, wind-cut beauty beside one of the world's great offshore achievements. Statfjord sits in the northern North Sea, crossing the Norwegian and UK sectors, where Norway's offshore ambition grew from discovery into industrial confidence. The field began operating through Statfjord A in 1979, followed by Statfjord B and C, and Equinor describes it as the largest oil discovery in the North Sea. Its concrete gravity-based platforms are the image that makes Statfjord unforgettable, standing in open water like artificial cliffs, with steel decks above the waves and deep foundations fixed to the seabed. It also belongs to the wider western seascape, where fjords, fishing towns, shipyards, and harbor communities all became part of the energy story. Statfjord proved that Norway could work at enormous scale in one of Europe's most unforgiving seas, while the North Sea itself kept the project grounded in something raw, beautiful, and deeply Norwegian. Snøhvit LNG and the Melkøya LNG plant rise above the Arctic Circle, near Hammerfest, where a lonely Arctic island turns hidden gas from the Barents Sea into energy for millions of people. Snøhvit was the first field development in the Barents Sea, yet the water above it can look almost empty because there is no visible offshore platform. Gas travels from the seabed through a nearly 89-mile pipeline to Melkøya, where Hammerfest LNG cools it into liquid form for shipment by sea. Snøhvit and Melkoja feel extraordinary, because they turn an unseen Arctic field into global energy, while keeping the landscape honest, remote, and unforgettable. With wilderness and human skill standing side by side. Ulla-Førre and the Kvilldal Hydropower complex pull the story into the mountains of Rogaland, where water stored high above the fjords becomes one of the most powerful energy systems in the country. At its center, Kvilldal Power Plant in Suldal is the largest hydropower plant in the country by installed capacity, with 1,240 megawatts hidden inside the mountain. The wider Ulla-Førre development includes 20 dams and roughly 78 miles of tunnels, turning highland rain, snowmelt, reservoirs, and rock into a vast renewable system. Ulla-Førre becomes most memorable through the journey of water, as it gathers in Blåsjø, the largest hydropower reservoir in the country by stored energy, then moves through tunnels and turbines before helping power homes, schools, hospitals, industry, and coastal towns far below. While Ryfylke opens above ground with pale mountain lakes, hard wind, snow patches, and roads that seem to disappear into stone, workers inside the mountain operate a hidden engine of the national grid with the discipline of people who know water can be both gift and force. Ulla-Førre and Kvilldal are unforgettable because they turn wilderness into prosperity, while preserving the silence, scale, and clean mountain beauty that make this landscape feel unique. At Gardermoen, about 30 miles northeast of Oslo, the country's main airport feels less like a concrete gateway and more like a carefully built first impression of the north. Since opening in 1998, the airport has carried modern travel through a landscape of open skies and winter roads, while the Terminal 2 expansion raised annual capacity to about 32 million passengers. Oslo Airport connects the capital region to the world, yet its strongest identity comes from the way aviation, rail, forest, snow, timber, and daylight meet inside one vast transport hub. The building keeps that scale calm through glass walls, warm wood, clear lines, broad daylight, and a train station placed directly beneath the terminal. Sustainability is not hidden in a report here. It shows up in practical details, from winter snow stored for summer cooling to renewable energy systems, groundwater wells, efficient rail access, and materials that make the terminal feel connected to nature. Outside, aircraft lights cut through cold air near forests and wide runways. Inside, thousands of workers move bags, passengers, security, aircraft, trains, shops, and services through a building designed to reduce stress. Gardermoen leaves a strong impression as an airport that presents the country as clean, organized, welcoming, and deeply tied to its landscape. From the terminal floor at Gardermoen, the journey does not spill onto a highway first. It drops straight into the Gardermoen Line, the high-speed rail link that pulls the airport into Oslo's daily life. This 40-mile line connects Oslo Central Station with Oslo Airport and Eidsvoll, and it became the country's first high-speed railway when built with the new main airport. Direct airport trains can reach Gardermoen from downtown Oslo in 19 minutes, turning a trip that could feel distant into a clean, predictable movement between city center, terminal, and national rail network. The route dives through the Romeriksporten Tunnel, passes forest edges and suburban communities, then arrives beneath the airport, where passengers step from platform to terminal without needing a car. That design gives travelers something many major airports struggle to offer: speed with simplicity. Business passengers save time, families move more easily with luggage, and visitors reach the capital without starting their trip in traffic. Along the route, winter fields, station lights, dark tunnel walls, and trains moving up to 130 miles per hour give the line a quiet but powerful visual rhythm. Gardermoen Line feels impressive through a very practical miracle, making distance shrink every time a plane lands. After Gardermoen Line proved how fast rail could reshape airport access, Follo Line brings that same logic into the commuter belt southeast of Oslo, where the Blix Tunnel cuts a faster route through the rock. The line runs about 14 miles from Oslo Central Station to Ski, with the roughly 12-mile Blix Tunnel forming the longest railway tunnel in the country. Its strongest effect appears in ordinary time. The Oslo ski trip dropped from 22 minutes to 11 minutes, giving commuters, students, workers, and families a rail connection that feels twice as close. The project also created 4 tracks between Oslo and Ski, letting faster regional trains use the new tunnel, while local trains and freight continue on the older line above ground. That separation gives the region more departures, better capacity, and a cleaner reason to choose rail over the road. The visuals build naturally from the route itself, as trains leave Oslo's dense rail corridors, pass beneath Ekebergåsen and protected historic areas, then run through a hidden tunnel, while forests, neighborhoods, and open land continue above. Follo Line feels massive in a quieter but more useful way, as the Blix tunnel keeps most of the railway hidden inside the rock, while giving commuters faster trips, more departures, and a stronger connection between Oslo, Follo, and Østfold every morning and evening. Beneath the fjords east of Stavanger, Ryfast and the Ryfylke tunnel turn a ferry-dependent coastline into a road you can drive through under the sea. The Ryfylke tunnel runs about 8.9 miles from Hundvåg to Solbakk and reaches nearly 960 feet below sea level, making it the world's longest and deepest subsea road tunnel when opened. Ryfast is more than one tunnel. It is a full road system linking Stavanger, Hundvåg, and Ryfylke through 3 tunnels that replaced waiting at the water's edge with a fixed connection. For local families, workers, emergency services, and businesses, Ryfast turns weather and ferry schedules into a road they can trust every day. The result feels extraordinary. A modern highway, hidden under one of the most beautiful coastal regions in the north, proving that even a fjord can become part of daily life instead of a barrier. Lærdal Tunnel does not cross a mountain pass. It cuts through the mountain itself, carrying the E16 for 15.2 miles between Aurland and Lærdal in the heart of Sogn. Opened in 2000, it remains the world's longest road tunnel and forms part of the ferry-free road connection between Oslo and Bergen. To keep that long underground passage from becoming exhausting, the tunnel opens into illuminated mountain halls at intervals, giving drivers flashes of color, space, and orientation in the dark. For residents, freight drivers, tourists, and emergency services, Lærdal Tunnel gives year-round reliability through terrain that can be breathtaking, remote, and unforgiving in the same day. The tunnel feels remarkable as a road carved through both stone and isolation, linking communities, while the mountain above remains vast, silent, and wild. South of Bergen, Triangle Link does not offer one single spectacle. It strings together tunnels, bridges, islands, and open water until Bømlo, Stord, Foyno, and Sveio begin to feel like one connected coastal region. The route combines the Bømlafjord Tunnel, nearly 4.9 miles long and about 860 feet below sea level, with the Stord Bridge, Bømla Bridge, smaller links, and coastal roads that replaced several ferry crossings. That sequence gives Triangle Link a powerful visual rhythm. A car drops into the dark undersea tunnel, rises into daylight, crosses suspension bridges above wind-cut water, passes green islands and white houses, then continues toward the E39 coastal highway. Compared with Eiksund's deep single crossing, Triangle Link feels broader and more cinematic, turning a scattered island landscape into a complete road network. For Bømlo and Stord, the project reshaped school routes, freight movement, local business, health access, and daily work trips. While also giving travelers a closer view of Sunnhordland's rugged shorelines, harbors, boat traffic, and fast-changing weather. The most impressive part is the way the route lets drivers experience two worlds in minutes: the engineered depth below the fjord and the beautiful island landscape above it. Triangle Link feels like a coastal megaproject made for real life, where infrastructure does not replace nature, but makes the whole region easier to reach, work in, and remember. In Bjørvika, Oslo Opera House rises from the waterfront as a cultural landmark people can walk across, turning the roof itself into a public square beside Oslofjord. Designed by Snøhvit and opened in 2008, it became the world's first opera house where the public can walk over the roof, making a national performance venue feel open, physical, and part of daily city life. The building covers about 527,000 square feet, with 3 halls, workshops, rehearsal rooms, offices, and glass-fronted spaces where the work behind opera and ballet becomes visible from the outside. The white marble roof gives the building its clearest power as people climb from the city toward wide views of the fjord, harbor, skyline, and northern light. Inside, oak walls, glass, stone, and warm golden wood soften the experience, creating a calm contrast with the sharp exterior by the water. Oslo Opera House helped open Bjørvika's former industrial waterfront to the public, giving the capital a place where families walk, performers rehearse, tourists pause, and the fjord reflects a building that feels monumental without becoming distant. On Oslo's waterfront near Aker Brygge, the National Museum of Norway gathers the country's art, architecture, design, and cultural memory into the largest museum in the Nordic region. Opened in 2022, the building covers about 588,000 square feet and displays roughly 6,500 works across dozens of exhibition rooms, selected from a collection of more than 400,000 objects. Inside, visitors move from design and craft to painting, sculpture, architecture, fashion, and contemporary art, with national treasures placed in rooms built for both protection and discovery. Its scale registers immediately through the low slate building beside the harbor and the glowing light hall above it, a 25,800 square foot space for temporary exhibitions. The building also carries a modern responsibility, with a design intended to cut greenhouse gas emissions by at least 50% compared with current building standards. Its location strengthens the experience by placing culture beside Oslofjord, City Hall, Aker Brygge, the harbor promenade, and the wider waterfront transformation. The National Museum gives the country's memory a physical home, letting people move from fjord light into rooms filled with history, beauty, identity, and imagination.